What's happening, friends? My name is Miguel Quiles, and today I'm going to share with you 5 tips that you can use to instantly take better portraits. I've shared these tips with photographers around the world over the last few years and have seen many of them make great strides in their portrait work. Now it's your turn. Before we dig into tip number 1, I want to take a moment to introduce you to the sponsor for today's video, Skillshare. Since we're talking about ways to take better portraits, one of the things that you can never go wrong with is educating yourself. Skillshare is an online learning platform with more than 25,000 classes covering photography, business, design, and more. I've personally been watching videos from Skillshare for some time and it's helped me out tremendously. For less than $10 a month, you'll have access to their entire library of content. Here's the cool part. The first 500 subscribers to use my link in the description for this video will get a 2-month free trial. There's nothing for you to lose and everything for you to gain, so head on over and check out their massive library of content. Join more than 7 million creators, including me, who are learning new things every single day with Skillshare. Now let's dig into the first tip, which is to fill the frame. A common thing that I see among beginner portrait photographers is this need to leave a lot of headroom above their subject. I did it when I first started out, so if you're doing that, don't feel bad. Utilize every single megapixel that your camera offers you and fill that frame whenever possible with your subject. If you're going to leave some headroom, leave a small amount so you can maximize the impact of your portraits. Here's a side-by-side for you to see how making this simple tweak can greatly improve your work. Tip number 2 is to pay attention to catch lights. The goal of a great portrait is to hook your viewer and hold their attention hostage for as long as possible. One of the ways that I do that is by paying attention to the catch lights in my portraits. The eyes are the window to the soul, so you'll want to ensure that they always look their best. Here's how you do this. Let's say you're taking a portrait on location. You'll want to stop for a moment just to take a look at your subject's eyes. Take a look at the things around you that are reflecting back into their eyes. If you don't have interesting catch lights, make them by using things like reflectors or maybe moving to another spot where you can make them more interesting. In the studio, it's a lot easier since every light source that you introduce into your shot that's placed in front of your subject will create these catch lights. Tip number 3 has to do with eye placement in your portraits. I didn't catch on to this until recently and it's made a massive difference in my portrait work. Anytime you're photographing a person, you'll want to pay close attention to where their eyes are looking. A common thing you'll run into is when you're photographing someone who might be a little shy in front of the camera, they'll tend to look away from the camera with their face as well as their eyes, and this causes the white part of the eye, known as the sclera, to be more dominant and pronounced as opposed to the iris, which typically contains all of the beauty that is the human eye. In order to get around this, I recommend one of 2 things. The best option is to instruct your subject to look in the same direction that their nose is pointing. In this way, you'll get the iris to be centered and looking good. The next best option is to have them turn their eyes towards the camera, though this too can sometimes cause the sclera to take up too much real estate in the eye. Tip number 4 is to focus on the lighting. To illustrate this point, I'm going to share a brief story with you. As a teenager, I remember going to Disney World and seeing different places around the park that were designated as Kodak picture spots. They were marked with signs and even had an example photograph at the location to validate that it was where you wanted to be if you wanted to take a good portrait. I remember I took out my camera at one of these spots one day to take a shot of my family, and I couldn't figure out for the life of me why my portraits didn't look like the ones on the sign. Well, the reason, of course, is that depending on the time of day, the lighting is going to change. If you're there during golden hour, maybe you'll have a nice soft even light on everyone's face. If you're there midday, you'll probably have some harsh light that will make for less than flattering portraits. My tip here is quite simple. Find a location that has good lighting and then place your subject in that light. If you picked a spot with some cool building or landmark in the background, but the lighting on your subject isn't good, don't waste your time taking that shot. If you can't find a better location with great lighting, then consider creating your own with a flash. Tip number 5 is to draw out a great expression. If you're taking a portrait of someone and they have a stale, boring expression, you're just out of luck. Sometimes we get so caught up with the location we're shooting in or the amazing lighting that we don't notice the look on our subject's face not being the most flattering. Talk with your portrait subject and put them at ease if they're nervous. You're going to take an amazing portrait of them, and sometimes just telling them that will go a long way in helping them relax and get into the shoot. One of my favorite tricks to get people to give me a great expression is to get them to play a character. I talk about this at length in another video that I'm linking in the cards above. These 5 tips are ones that I use every single time I'm in a portrait session, and they haven't failed me yet. Which one was your favorite? Have one you'd like to add to my list? Head on down to the comment section and leave your feedback. While you're there, click the subscribe button and bell so you can be notified when my next video posts up. Follow Julianna as well and let me know if you'd like to see her again in another video. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.